So today's going to be a different kind of video. And that's because some things in life are just more important than a book launch. And I'm giving this story the chance it didn't really get before. Hi, I'm MK Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher. I love sharing my insights all about self-publishing with you. Before I get into the details of today's topic, don't forget to hit subscribe. You'll be notified when I put out new videos every week about self-publishing, make a career out of being an author, and now being a mompreneur. So I want to give a quick disclaimer if this is your first time on this channel that I don't usually do videos like this. If I'm going to talk to you about one of my books, I'm usually giving you details about what I did to upload it, add an ISBN, and I'm just mentioning the book that I did this for, knowing that some of you might like the genre I write in, but most of you won't. It's a very small way that I can promote my books, but I usually try to stay away from the, hey, buy my books announcements, unless I'm like really specific of like, it's launch day, it's exciting, here's the details, and then I'm still giving you your regular weekly video. I don't like to just promote me. It feels a little icky. And those are really the notable exceptions, right? I'm launching a book. I made it super clear from the outset that those who don't want to be sold to can move on with their day. But this is a different story. So back in 2016, I had a goal to get another book out 1 year after the release of Nailbiters, my first book. I had several short stories already written, but I wanted to add one more to the collection. Escaping Avila Chase was inspired by several things, but one idea that really kicked it off was my husband getting questions from people after reading Nailbiters saying, are you afraid? Like, she wrote a scary book. So Escaping Avila Chase took on a life of its own from there, and it also provided me with a new challenge. So writing a story from a male point of view. Every time I write a book, I always try to set a new challenge for myself. With Nailbiters, it was just getting it done. With The Games You Cannot Win, that entire collection of stories, it was to get it done within a year of the first book coming out. With specifically Escaping Avila Chase, the novella that ends that collection, it was writing from a male point of view. Every book I've done has a new challenge to it. So I really carefully and meticulously worked on this story. And I had it in my mind that it was a long, short story, but really it's a novella. So I had The Games That You Cannot Win complete and ready to go. I was going to be under a really tight timeline, but a week before my deadline, October 19th, 2016, I set the pre-order for my book to launch exactly 1 year after Nailbiters. It was going to launch on October 26th, 2016. It was going to be a super short pre-order window, so definitely not using my best practices, but remember, at that time my audience was super small. I was sticking with my goal of getting the book done within a year, and I knew that it was the final week that I would be pushing for pre-orders anyway. So I was posting, and I had a schedule in my mind for continuing to push all throughout that week leading up to launch day. But the next day, I got a call from my mom in the middle of the workday. So you already know it wasn't good. So my dad had been diagnosed with lung cancer back in 2011, and he beat it twice. But it had come back for a third time. He was still feeling okay, but the doctors weren't really sure what to do next. I knew this might be it. I had already booked a plane ticket to go and see him in early November after my launch, but this call was a few weeks too early. He was in bad shape, and I could hear it in my mom's voice. This was it. My husband left work early, and we packed up the car and drove 7 hours to get to my parents' house. My dad was in the hospital, and while he was still alive, he wasn't conscious. The next day, he came home for hospice, and by October 23rd, he was gone. Of the things I was thinking about in the days that followed, my book was the farthest from my mind. Even after we drove home, even after I flew up to visit my mom and help her start to clean up the house, the launch day came and went, and I didn't post a thing. How could I, right? Like, how could I pretend everything was okay when the worst thing had just happened? How could I ask people to buy my book when all I wanted was to buy more time with my dad? I wasn't focused on the launch or marketing the book afterwards. And if anything, thinking about this book, The Games You Cannot Win, will always make me think of losing my dad. It's the book that I promote the least, and that's why. Which means that this story, at the end of it, the story that I was really proud of, the story that most reviewers agree is the best in that entire collection, doesn't get any attention. It doesn't reach the people the way I intended it. So I'm giving it a second chance. This year, on the 5-year book anniversary for The Games You Cannot Win, I'm releasing Escaping Avila Chase as a standalone novella across all platforms and formats. I'm excited about this. Obviously it's bringing up a lot of emotions because it's another somber 5-year anniversary as well. But it's one of those things where I think it's part of my healing process to kind of release it and give it its due, and kind of move on, move past. So what is Escaping Avila Chase about? It has nothing to do with my family or my dad and things like that. So it's a story about Trevor, who is having the worst week of his life, not because a hacker he's been tracking for years slips through his fingers, but because his ex-girlfriend with an axe to grind is releasing a new book, and he just can't escape the feeling that she'll be airing all of her grievances with him in her book. So who is Avila Chase exactly? Well, she's a femme fatale with creative license, and she's sharpening her pen just for Trevor. I want Avila to live. I want her to get into your minds and not leave. I want her to have the chance that she didn't have 5 years ago. So if you enjoy reading short fiction, if you enjoy reading novellas, if you enjoy suspenseful literary fiction, Escaping Avila Chase is available everywhere you find great fiction. And I'll be back with my regular videos tomorrow. Thanks.